Good morning. Good morning. Gee, it's great to start your day with coffee with Karma today. Good morning. Now, have you ever wondered how your book could last a lifetime, leave a legacy, build your business? Well, today I'm going to share with you five powerful ways that your book can do just that. And I'm going to be sharing with you examples of each tactic that are of books that are 20 years or older, which means they have been leaving they are still impacting today 20 years or more after their publication date. Now, when I first started researching this episode and finding those books, I kept being surprised, like, this isn't old. This is published in the 2000s. And then I realized it was 2024. And so 20 years ago was still in the 2000s. So do not be surprised if these books feel modern. They are still 20 years, 2 decades or older past their published date, and they are still making an impact today. And if you can have your book do that, follow the principles I'm going to be sharing in this episode. So the first tip is to use timeless thought leadership. A well-written book that cements your ideas, ensuring that your insights remain influential long after your business model or brand evolves. This this kind of book's shelf life doesn't expire. It becomes a permanent reference point for thought leadership. An example of this book is The Innovator's Dilemma, which was published in 1997. And by Clayton Christensen, this book introduced the concept of disruptive innovation, which is a term that continues to influence business and technology today, which is decades later. I mean, this is way more than 20 years. The author's insights remain a permanent reference point for many business owners today, and especially if they are navigating innovation, even in industries and as technologies evolve. I mean, I don't know this for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if Elon Musk has read this book. My next tip is a book that leads a lasting influence on industry. While your business may rebrand, may adapt, your book can continue to shape industry best practices. It can provide an evergreen foundation of knowledge, and future leaders can turn to it. This will outlast just your brand. Now, a good example of this kind of book is Good to Great by Jim Collins, which was published in 2001, 23 years ago. I don't know, I didn't know it was that old. I only discovered this book myself, I think last year, and, you know, it doesn't matter how your brand evolves and grows, if the book that you created has an impact on thought leadership, on business, it can continue to influence well past you moving on to something else. Jim Collins' work here continues to shape the management and leadership best practices in companies across various industries. Its influence has outlasted many companies profiled in the book itself. 20 years later, there you go. Now, tip number three is leaving a legacy of values and vision. Brands can change their messaging or their reputation or reposition themselves, but a book captures the heart of a philosophy in the moment that it was created. And it can preserve your vision and serve as a guidepost for future generations. So if you've got a big vision and a philosophy and a message that you think is important and has a lasting value, you can encapsulate it in a book that will last generations. And here's my example. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This particular cover is the 25th anniversary edition. This book was originally published in 1989, and people are still talking about it today. Stephen Covey's book captured and preserved a core set of timeless values and principles that have guided generations of leaders and individuals. I have a copy of this book on my shelf, and I have referred to it multiple times. It serves as a roadmap for living and leading with integrity, and its message transcends changing business environments. That's why even though this is probably the oldest book that I'm no, there's one more. There's one more that's older, but this is one of the oldest books that I'm sharing with you today, and it still is valuable today. It still feels modern and relevant even though this was published in the late 1980s. Tip number 4, immortalize your intellectual property. Yes, your brand will adapt to changes, but your book can remain an intellectual asset that generates new opportunities through licensing, speaking engagements, consulting gigs, even after your original business has shifted. An example of this is The E Myth Revisited, which is by Michael Gerber. In fact, he actually started with The E Myth Revisited, and this is like a second edition or a third edition. He keeps bringing it back. His ideas about small business, franchising, and entrepreneurial mindset have turned into a lasting intellectual asset for him. His book continues to generate opportunities for speaking engagements, consulting, and new additions, even as business trends have changed and shifted over time. And this book was published in 1995. And this is the first book was the E-Myth. The E-Myth Revisited is something new. So its original thought was even older than 1985. So if you again, and I've mentioned this in previous episodes, if your book is principle based rather than technique, rather than something that needs something today, like if you wrote a book about ChatGPT, it would be dated. It would probably be dated within months, if not years. But if you can talk about the principles of working with new technology, that's something completely different. My fifth and last example is the oldest book here, and that is Enduring Connection with Readers. Your book, your business, your brand might disappear, might pivot, but a well crafted book forms a personal connection with readers that can last well beyond your brand's life cycle. Readers can feel invested in your journey, making them loyal advocates for years. And the example that I have for you is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, which was published in 1936. I know, I was like, "What?" I don't know what I thought, like, 1936? I mean, Dale Carnegie, his name is still well known in the speaker circles, self-improvement circles, and I'm pretty sure he's no longer with us. His book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, is still one of the top books that people recommend when you wanna be good at sales, when you wanna be good at business. His book is nearly a century old, but it still resonates deeply with readers today. Its personal, timeless approach to relationships and influence has forged a lasting connection with readers across generations, well beyond the life cycle of a brand or business, and in this case, a life. Again, if you can talk about what you talk about on a higher principle-based level that can be applied to any technology, any shift in time, space, environment, then your book has a better chance of lasting a lifetime and making an influence for generations to come. I hope you found these examples and this episode helpful. I will be returning on Friday with legacy book ideas inspired by the classic film Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Again, this is Carma Spence. I help executive coaches, business leaders, and consultants write, publish, and market client attracting books. This is Coffee with Karma, which airs every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on YouTube at 9 a.m. Central. I also record it live on LinkedIn on Mondays, live on my Facebook pages on Wednesdays, and live on my Facebook profile on Fridays. If you like this video, please like it, ring the bell, subscribe to my channel, and come back for more. See you on Friday. Ciao.